What is good, Raider Nation? Is your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. Week 12 post-game reaction. The Las Vegas Raiders fell to the Denver Broncos. The Raiders officially fall to a 2-9 record, losing their 7th straight game of the NFL season. The Raiders also have not won a single divisional game thus far in the season. We are 0-4 in the AFC West division. Now, this shouldn't really be a surprise to us at this point. It's been a very disappointing season, but I definitely still want to talk about the game because there was definitely still some takeaways from this game that I noticed from this team. And the first one is that the Raiders, they were pretty damn competitive in this one, especially in the first half. The intensity was there. They were making tackles. It was a neck-and-neck game in the first half. The Raiders actually went into halftime leading 10-9. And I ain't gonna lie, for a second there, it kind of felt like the Raiders very well could have won that game. But second half, just kind of the overall theme of what the season has been for the Raiders, especially on the offensive side of the football, reared its ugly head. Gardner Minshew threw an interception. He keeps his turnover streak alive. And that was definitely a big factor into this one. The Raiders had 2 turnovers, and we were unable to generate one single turnover on rookie quarterback Bo Nix, who, look, shout out to him. I wasn't a big fan of him coming into the NFL draft, but he's done a good job with the Broncos, and specifically, he's done a great job taking care of the football, and the Raiders were unable to create any turnover. Now, one thing that did jump out to me is that the Raiders continued their pass-heavy approach this week. Gardner Minshew dropped back 42 different times, threw for 230 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 1 interception. He did go down late in the football game, so Desmond Ridder was forced in, and he dropped back 10 different times as well. So you're talking about over 50 times we dropped back to pass the ball. We were down in the fourth quarter, but you definitely see that pass to run balance is not really there, which, look, I'm not necessarily complaining about that because all season long we just haven't been able to run the football. But one thing I did know is Antonio Pierce last week a couple different times mentioned the fact that he did want to see this offense be a little bit more balanced. But I will say, the offense today and last week, they have looked better than they have under Luke Getsy. And you definitely saw Luke Getsy try to establish that run even when it wasn't working, even in obvious situations when you weren't supposed to run the football. The Raiders overall only handed off the football to their running backs 13 different times. Sincere McCormick got 5 carries for 33 yards, a 6.6 average on the ground per carry. And I ain't gonna lie, I like what I saw from Sincere McCormick. And look, am I the only one that kind of felt like he looked like Josh Jacobs out there? For one, he had that number 28. But just the way he was kind of running a little bit, I was like, oh man, that reminded me of Josh Jacobs a little bit. So I definitely liked what I saw from the young guy. And it definitely is kind of head-scratching that this guy's been on the practice squad for 3 years. And just the fact that the Raiders running back situation has been so terrible all season long. And just barely now they started to give him some touches. Even though it was only 5 carries, but he was pretty effective running the football when he had the opportunity. Amir Abdullah got 8 carries for 28 yards, about 3.5 yards per carry, not too shabby. But overall, we were pretty reliant on Jacoby Myers in the passing games, 10 receptions, 121 yards. Trey Tucker kind of came alive today as well. I was happy to see that, especially with the lack of skill weapons we have with the departure of Devontae Adams. I've been waiting for Trey Tucker to kind of step up, get these 100-yard games. Now, he only had 7 receptions, 82 yards, but I'll take that if he can continue to do that week in and week out and continue to develop. Our star tight end Brock Bowers was quiet today. The Broncos definitely did a good job scheming him up, not letting Brock Bowers beat them. They forced Gardner Minshew to target other receivers and not let him beat them. Brock Bowers had 4 receptions, 38 yards. But overall, I felt like this team was competitive, like I said, in the first half. Second half is kind of when the Broncos started to separate themselves from us. They took the lead, and after that, we really just couldn't get back into the football game. We had some dumb penalties forcing us back into 2nd and long situations, and then eventually we just had to kick the ball. And the Raiders had a chance to finally get over 20 points on the board. Now, I understand it was during garbage time, but we were at like the 2-yard line and we weren't able to punch it in. So the Raiders continue their streak of not getting over 20 points on the season. Definitely very disappointing. And overall on the defensive side of the football, it was decent. I mean, they did a lot better against the run in this matchup. The Broncos couldn't really get anything going on the ground. They did a good job containing them in that sense. Courtland Sutton had himself a big day against us. 8 receptions, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, which at the end of the day, I'm not super surprised. We are super banged up on the defensive side of the football, and specifically in the secondary group, no Jacorian Bennett, who you can definitely make the argument he's been our best cornerback this season. No JB out there, no Nate Hobbs. Jack Jones was out there, but he was a little bit banged up. Decamion Richardson, he's still a young rookie. He still is a little bit raw. He had a pass interference on Courtland Sutton. I have to rewatch the tape and see if that was actually a good call or not. But overall, if the Raiders wanted to win this game, they were going to have to force Bo Nix to throw an interception or cause a fumble. They had to get a turnover some way, somehow. The Raiders lose the turnover battle once again. -2 on the day. And one thing I will say, late in the second half, I feel like at times this defense was a little bit too conservative. The way I've always seen this Denver Broncos offense and Bo Nix in general, just watching him back in his college days with the University of Oregon, he likes to dink and dunk the ball. He likes to get the ball out quickly. And I just felt like a lot of times we were playing super soft coverage and those underneath routes were wide open and he was easily just able to get the ball out of his hands, let them get 10 yards, move the sticks. And look, I do understand that we are banged up. A lot of our best weapons on the defensive side of the football are not out there, but still, I would have liked us to be a little bit more aggressive in that instance. I mean, if he's going to beat you, make him beat you, throwing the ball deep, getting aggressive, and don't let him play his brand of football. Don't let him be comfortable just dinking and dunking the ball down the field, especially in a game where they weren't really able to dominate and establish the run. So that's just really one thing I didn't like on the defensive side of the football. So the Raiders fall to 2-9, and some bright news is the fact that the Cleveland Browns won on Thursday Night Football in that snowstorm against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, the Tennessee Titans upsetted the Houston Texans. So with this being said, the updated 2025 NFL draft order goes like this. The number 1 overall pick is the Jacksonville Jaguars with a 2-9 record. They have lost 4 straight. The New York Giants, 2-9 record. They have lost 6 straight. And the Raiders are now 3rd overall in the NFL draft. 2-9, have lost 7 in a row. So I will say the Raiders are still primed to have a really good draft pick. And honestly, if they could stay at the number 3 spot, if this is the same draft order, the Raiders are going to be in a really good spot. I don't necessarily see the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting a quarterback, but you never know. And also, too, maybe one of the teams below us, maybe they move up to number 1. I still see this draft being top heavy at the quarterback position with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders clearly being the 2 best quarterbacks. So I think the Raiders should definitely put themselves in the best position possible to be in the top 2. Now, this is going to be a short week for the Raiders as we will play on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. That could very likely be a loss right there. After that, we're on the road again against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who look like a strong team that are trying to make a playoff push. And then after that, Monday Night Football showdown against the Atlanta Falcons, another solid NFC team that is looking to get in the playoffs. So, look, very likely the Raiders could lose their next 3 games. And if that happens, that matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, when it comes to draft position, that's going to be a big game. But overall, the Raiders lost this game. It still sucks, but at the end of the day, I still am content that they at least were competitive for the most part in this game. They're not getting blown out. I don't see anybody really quitting on this football team. That's a positive sign moving forward. And some good takeaways. The offense is looking a little bit better. We look a lot more pass heavy. But at the end of the day, if it's an improvement from what we had with Luke Getsy, then I say keep doing it. You got to do what works for your team. You can't force yourself to be a run-first team, a run-heavy team if you just don't have the personnel. If you don't have the pieces for it, We saw some young guys out there. I would like to see more of Sincere McCormick moving forward. Dylan Lobby had a nice punt return, and I definitely want us to continue that youth movement. I want to see DeCamerion Richardson continue to get more snaps. Let him develop. If he's going to make mistakes, let him make mistakes in this season where, the playoffs are out of the picture. This is the perfect time for young guys to go out there and just try to make plays out there. And lastly, one thing I will note is Shedeur Sanders made some headlines again this week. And this time he posted his "Thank You God" tweet one more time. But this time it was right after the New York Giants lost their football game. So look, Shedeur Sanders is definitely toying with the Raiders, with the Giants. I mean, everything seems to indicate that the Raiders and the Giants are his two preferred destinations. I think he'd be fine with either one of those. Now, he is coming off of a bad loss yesterday against Kansas, so he's going to have to focus on finishing this college football season strong. But something to take into consideration, it looks like Shedeur Sanders is also open to joining the New York Giants. But we will ultimately see what ends up happening. Only 6 games left of the regular season. Hopefully the Raiders can continue to be in competitive games like this. Hopefully we can continue to see the young guys improving week in and week out. But Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.